Anthony Guichard is suing the mother of his child, Carrie Hess, for her share of their daughter's dental bills and for the cost of changing her birth certificate.
Quiet in the courtroom, please.
Mr. Guichard, you and the defendant were involved in a relationship some time ago. That relationship produced a child. For most of her life, the child lived with her mother, and more recently, she came to live with you. Your lawsuit is an interesting one. It seeks the reimbursement of some medical or dental bills from the mother, and it also seeks the expenses of having the child's birth certificate changed to reflect your last name. I don't know what Ms. Hess's defense is, but I find your lawsuit quite interesting because I have a couple of questions. How old is your daughter?
17 and a half.
And when did she come to live with you?
August of last year.
And I assume that since she's been with her mother, you paid child support.
Correct.
In what amount?
Court order, $400 a month.
And you've paid that for how long?
Well, there was a recent order that was placed about 7 years ago that surrounds what I consider to be fraud at one particular time with her, I think it was her third husband.
She's had a lot of husbands.
Okay.
Is that right, Ms. Hess?
I've been married 3 times, Your Honor.
That's not correct.
She should know how many times she's been married.
Well, she's recently just had another child about 9 months ago. That would be number 4.
You've been married 3 times?
Yes.
I assumed that you knew how many times you were married, and you have 4 kids.
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you currently under a child support order, Ms. Hess?
To pay child support to Mr. Guichard?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Have you taken her to court for child support?
Not at this time, for one particular reason.
Why?
When my daughter first came to live with me, or actually escaped to live with me, I did not want to seek a support order because she was 17, 1 more year, and it really didn't matter. But because the mother made the transition so ridiculous, I thought at this particular time that someone has to pay for this. For instance, she called the FBI on us when we were vacationing in Mexico and insisted that I had kidnapped my daughter.
Just a second. So you took your daughter out of the country to Mexico?
Correct.
And Mexico has the Brando law, which precludes you from bringing the child back into this country unless you have a letter from her indicating that it was fine for her to leave the country and to come back. There are lots of other places you can go. You should have been smart enough not to go to Mexico.
Her mother knew it.
What I'm telling you is, unless you had the letter from her indicating that she was fine with it, you shouldn't have taken your daughter to Mexico on vacation.
It had never been a problem in the past. There's another issue that came into play as well. Since the kidnapping that she tried to have a warrant issued on me didn't work, we came back to California. She's already enrolled in high school, doing fine. She called the Nampa Police Department, received a police officer that she manipulated there. That police officer called me at home, told me if I did not put my daughter on the next plane, she was going to swear out a warrant and have me arrested for kidnapping. And I said the officer needs to stand back and take a position and be objective because she's being manipulated by one of the best.
Mr. Guichard, this is absolutely fascinating for a full-hour talk program.
Correct. It would probably entail more.
This is not a lawsuit, sir. The fact that you are ticked off at Ms. Hess because she has made this transition difficult does not create a lawsuit. And if you wanted to sue her for support, you should have done that. And then the court is obliged, under the federal child support guidelines, to make an order of support commensurate with what she earns and what you earn and what the child's needs are. So I don't know why you choose to come to small claims court, sir.
Because I truly believe the family court system is slanted. I have filed the paperwork. I've got hundreds of letters asking for this. Nothing has been answered.
Well, you filed the papers for what?
For child support.
And what happened?
They're still waiting. It's still pending. They keep getting back to me saying, well, we'll get back to you. It's in someone else's hands, so on and so forth. But I still don't...
When did you file for child support?
Approximately 4 months ago.
Mr. Guichard, when you live in one jurisdiction and the defendant lives in another jurisdiction, you proceed under the Uniform Reciprocal Child Support Enforcement Act. Each jurisdiction in this country is a signatory to that pact, the ERISA.
I'm aware of that.
Well, I want you to know that I'm aware of that.
I know you are.
Okay. So that you may have filed your petition 4 months ago, but what happens is the state here in California, first they type it up. Then they send the papers to the authority in Idaho. They have their own problems to deal with in Idaho. The ERISA proceedings are not high on the list of priorities of family court. They have child abuse, neglect, juvenile delinquency, And when they get around to it, they will serve her with a summons in the ERISA proceeding, and she will be summoned to court, and they will make an order.
I disagree with that because I know the status of what's happening. It hasn't even gotten off the desk in the Orange County and hasn't even been to Idaho as of yet.
Well, the fact that it hasn't gotten off the desk in Orange County, sir, has nothing to do with your agenda.
What I don't understand, and it's been explained to me by my family attorney, even if I don't have a support order, why is she off the hook for financial responsibility for her child?
Just a second. She is not.
Okay.
She is not. And the truth of the matter is, if you want to take the bull by the horns and buy yourself a plane ticket and go to Idaho and file a petition on behalf of your daughter, they will have to hear it much swifter than they would if they heard it under a ERISA proceeding. There's no question about that. So once
the district attorney works for the people. But why are they her personal secretary?
Mr. Gouchard, I'm not here to defend the jurisdiction of Orange County. That's not my job. My job is to decide whether or not you've been shortchanged, and whether or not, if you've been shortchanged, you have a legal claim in small claims court. And my problem with your case, initially, reading it was, I don't know what your beef was. You want her to pay for half the child's dental bills, and yet you have filed a proceeding in the family court for a support order, and you don't like the fact that it's taken too long. And what I'm suggesting to you is, if she's a passive-aggressive person and was hell-bent on making your life miserable when your daughter came to live with you...
She did it last night till 1 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't just then.
Mr. Gouchard, I didn't pick her.
I didn't either.
Oh, yes, you did.
Not for 30 days.
No, listen to me.
The extent of it.
Listen to me. I read your complaint very carefully, and there was a time, I assume, up until your daughter was 7 years old, that you believed that you had terminated your own parental rights by signing an affidavit allowing Miss Hess's then third husband to adopt her. When did you sign the document terminating your parental rights?
Are you going to allow me a little latitude here?
No, I want you to answer my question.
I can't remember the date. It was approximately 7 years ago. Well, no, I can't remember the exact date. It wasn't 7 years ago that I signed them. It was when she was about 7 years old. Those were signed.
When she was 7 years old.
Around that age.
From age 1 through 7. Just answer my questions.
Yes.
Were you under a support order?
Yes.
And what were you paying in support?
$400 a month.
Then, when the child was...
Yes. I have the original order.
I'd like to see it.
If you allow me a couple seconds to find it. I didn't know I was going to be bringing that
Absolutely.
one
I'll allow
up.
you a couple of seconds to answer my questions, not to vent. You want to vent, go to see a therapist. You're angry.
I'm not really that angry.
Anger doesn't make a lawsuit,
I'm more
Mr.
frustrated
Gouchard.
with you not allowing me the latitude to elaborate on a couple issues.
You'll just have to suffer with that, sir.
Yeah, perhaps.
No, I'm telling you, definitely. Shh, quiet.
Here's I believe, the original order.
Thank you.
And here is the order that some years later, after the alleged fraud incident for the adoption, that we went to court and everything was brought to light.
There is an order here dated December 19th, 1990. At that time, sir, there was an order entered of $400 a month. However, at that time, there were over $4,000 in arrears.
That was from retroactive.
No, it just said there were $4,000.
Well, that's what it was from. Well, here's what happened. It wasn't my child. We had to go through the DNA. If you look at the birth certificate, what happened is the two of them decided to get married. They put both their names on the birth certificate and told me I'm not to have any involvement. When her first husband decided that he got cold feet and wanted to get the heck out of there, he turned around and filed a divorce. She immediately came after me for support. I was married for about 45 days to 60 days at that time. She strategically served my wife, got in my wife's face and said, look, I'm here to stay for the next 18 years. You might want to rethink this marriage since it's new. She personally thought at that time that I was going to get back with her and have a new family.
There is an order that you've handed to me dated December 19th, 1990. In that order, Ms. Hess, I want you to listen to me very carefully as to what paragraph 3 says. It says both parties to share equally unreimbursed medical expenses of the minor child. That's what the order says. You want to read it?
There is a new order.
Shh. Why? Is this order hurting you? Is
I
the order that I just read hurting you?
No, ma'am.
Sometimes it's good just to be quiet. Now you'll have to give me the new order.
It says the same thing. But it's just what we recently threw expectations.
All I'm telling you is sometimes silence is golden, Mr. Gouchard.
I'd rather get to the facts.
And Mr. Gouchard, you want to get to the facts, and I said it to you before. You go to a therapist. You want to get to the law, you come to court.
I'm not talking about my personality. I'm talking
You
about
are
the
talking
facts.
about your personality, sir, because what you're here for is unreimbursed medical expenses. That's what you're here for. And if you have an order that calls for her to pay for unreimbursed medical expenses, she hasn't done it. That's what I'm here to deal with. Not that you couldn't enjoy your trip to Mexico.
I wasn't talking about necessarily the trip
Could
to
we
Mexico.
please have the updated order?
Yeah, I've got a mess here. I've told you I'm trying.
Well, but I had one that I was very happy with. You his wife? Get him into therapy.
Actually, my daughter's been in therapy.
She probably needs it.
Yeah, I would after spending 16 years and 6 husbands and all the abuse. Yes, she does.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You are so angry and need a forum for your anger.
Correct.
So badly. This is not it, Mr. Gouchard.
And later today,
I'm going to waste not one further moment on this case. Between the two of them, I don't think we can put together a 3-digit IQ.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Anthony Gouchard claims the mother of his child, Carrie Hess, owes for her share of their daughter's dental bills.
Do you have an order in your file after December 19th, 1990?
No, Your Honor, that was the original order.
Good.
And in fact, Your Honor, everything he's saying, I mean, we took notes. Everything he's saying is a lie.
Listen to me. Not everything he's saying is a lie.
Okay, not everything.
Not everything, madam, that he's saying to me is a lie. You know, I've been in this business for a lot of years, and I know an awful lot about one-night or 30-day stands that produce a child that can tend to aggravate you over the next 18 or 21 years. Been there, seen it, done it all. And I know about how you feel that your daughter lived with you for 16 and a half years, and then she decides to go and live with her father, and that can be very irritating, and that you decided that this transition was not going to be made happily. There's no question in my mind that you knew that he had not kidnapped your daughter, that he wasn't holding her for ransom, that he wasn't chaining her in some basement, and you decided to make his life a little miserable. There isn't a question in my mind about that. It's not that I don't care. That's not before me. It's not something I can do something about. What I can do something about is if I have an order that provides that you pay for 1/2 of her unreimbursed medical care, that's what you do. Period. Clear?
Yes,
Good.
Your Honor.
Where does this say that she
The
shall
first
pay?
paragraph. It
Where-
says we're both responsible. We are both responsible for the health and
No,
responsible.
that's not what it says, sir.
Well, read it to me. I don't understand it then.
Well, you
Please.
seem like a very intelligent man. Maybe I'll let your wife read it to you.
No, I
it
can
says,
read it for you.
It says both parents shall have the right and responsibility to make decisions.
Right.
Decisions relating to health, education, and the welfare of the child. It doesn't say
That's
anything
right.
about money.
It says responsibility for paying for the health and the education.
No.
It's very simple. That was...
Mr. Gouchard, that's not, sir.
So she's
What it-
released of all financial responsibility
don't
and
you
can have
just-
children left and right.
Listen, I can't deal with you anymore, sir.
I can't.
I can't
Ready?
deal with you anymore, sir, because if you just kept your mouth shut 5 minutes ago, this is an order that says very clearly that each parent shall be responsible for 1/2 of the unreimbursed medical expenses for the child. Not decision-making. That's what this is. Not decision-making, payment. But you are so angry and need a forum for your anger.
Correct.
So badly. This is not it, Mr. Gouchard, and I understand you're angry. Unfortunately, sir, you picked the wrong forum. Your case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She's still disrupting my life, and it never ends.
Most of what he just said were lies.